Deep breath, it is, you've done, it's muscular. It would turn instantly by now if it was something serious.
Yeah, skeletal.
But no, seriously, as in women, you have to be really careful because you can be the right.
Can you?
Yes. When I had my cardiac episode, it mimics a heart attack. Women are completely different to men. Men have classic symptoms. Women have it with their hormones. Women's hormones send it on, and mine was right.
Oh, God.
But not like that. It's really deep. It's totally different. You feel dreadful before you know it.
I feel fine. Okay.
That's the fake problem.
Oh, God. We'll talk about that later. Come on.
Right,
what time is it? Time to get on with the show. Right. Lovely budget meeting today, welcome everybody. Number 1, introductions. Let's introduce ourselves properly.
Tracey Price.
Marie Thompson.
Janji Russell.
Paul Waller. Knott.
Gillian Peacock.
Marvellous.
I know, I got myself Bailey Peacock.
Right, apologies, number 2. To receive apologies. I haven't received any, but I have just received a resignation notice from Fiona McReath.
So she did apologise in a way. She
Yeah,
said she wasn't
exactly.
saying.
Yes.
Resignation from
Fiona McReath.
Councillor McReath.
Councillor McReath.
MCCREATN.
Perfect.
That's it. That's what it is. Council, we haven't heard from her on that.
Okay, number 3, declarations of interest. In items on the agenda, both existence or in nature. Does anybody have any?
No.
I don't.
I don't.
No.
Paul?
One I've forgot to do. I was going to raise a point of order, wasn't I?
Well, I'm asking this at the moment, so can you answer? Do you
I've
have any
got
items on the
nothing
agenda?
to declare at all.
No, no.
Okay. Fine, nobody has. To receive those, okay? And then that, right, 4, minutes of the Parish Council.
Before you move on to that, I'd like to raise a point of order on what was omitted from the agenda that you sent out following the meeting.
Yeah.
We, the council, it's supposed to be open and transparent, and it's our habit to put participation on the agenda
Yeah.
and encourage it. But it wasn't on the agenda for this meeting. And yet it's in the standing orders. I don't know how the standing orders can be.
So I asked Bill, can you help me with the agenda, please, so I don't get anything wrong?
This is not, although it's a public meeting, this is not a monthly meeting, this is a budget meeting. And most councils throughout, the land, by and large, when they're doing the precept, it's enough of a job setting the precept without having to deal with public participation. So what you do is you put the public participation, and in this case, it's next Monday.
After the decision's been made.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so where is the community involvement in setting
Well,
the budget?
since when? There never has been community involvement in budget setting, ever.
Ever?
No.
Surely it's up to the council to set the budget, not
It's
the
up to
public.
the council, exactly so.
Okay, set the figures, yes, but
That's
in
right.
steering the thoughts on what's important, what projects.
That's a different thing. That's called community budgeting.
Mm.
And what you can do, and some councils do, I don't know what Henry did, but this is how some work. They put a figure for community projects, and they then say, this is the amount of money that we're setting aside for community projects. You, the public, sit and prioritise how this money is going to be spent, and then put it back to the public. Not all of the budget, simply because a lot of stuff of the budget, it doesn't matter what public pressure has to be paid. So you're looking at a small, if I may be so bold, percentage of your precept. You can say, this is up to you to decide how you place it. And in the mains, the people tend to get within groups themselves and say, well, if we spend 2,000 on this, 3,000 or whatever, or if we have 2,000 on this, next year we'll have a look at doing something else.
Or you could possibly think about having a grants process.
Yeah, well,
So you actually have sort of a small pot of money, and then you invite community organisations to say,
Okay.
we would like X, Y, Z. Could we actually apply
So,
for
what
grace?
would the
I think
time?
small amounts of money, but the major things that the public, that the council gets involved in. Oh, well, I just would like to see the standing orders to be refined then, to make that perfectly clear.
We can change that then in our standing orders book. can't we?
Yeah,
We
we
want
can
to do
change
that.
Do we
it,
need to
can't we?
pass
It's
a
not
resolution to
legislation,
do
it's-
that?
Yes, you do. And so
So you
you
do
can
that
put it on
again.
the agenda for next.
Which is
Next
Monday.
week.
next month.
Monday.
Yeah.
So
And
just,
the agenda was
Yeah,
out
the agenda's
on
come out
Wednesday.
already. That's the only, yes, it doesn't have to go out on
Wednesday.
tomorrow.
It's got to go out.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, tomorrow.
No, tomorrow's Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's got to go out by Wednesday.
Wednesday,
That gives you-
Thursday, Friday.
That gives you Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
3.
You were operating one rule last week for the neighbourhood plan,
Okay.
you can operate it this
No,
week for this
okay.
one.
No, I'm just clarifying, Paul.
Mm.
Don't be aggressive.
Not being aggressive, just being
You are.
assertive.
And I won't have it. Go on.
Anyway, just on that, so would you put on the agenda for next week something about, I can't remember how you phrased it, but community involvement in a percentage of the budget? Would you actually be
I wouldn't-
explicit?
I wouldn't say the percentage of the budget, I would say was that there is an amount of money.
Yeah, but my point is, would you put it on the agenda for next week so that people who might be interested in spending that money could make a bid?
What do we do for the one after?
This
We
is
have-
surely for, this is
sorry.
going from April onwards, surely. This
We do have a grant policy, and I think we need to look at exactly where we are and what we are.
Well,
It's not changing things. But anyway, this is,
Well, it's not really, it's about money.
Can I just say the festival group practice this anyway?
Yeah.
This is how the festival
Yeah, it
group,
is, yeah.
the money they raise, they put out how much to various groups in the village and they apply for a grant
Yeah.
for a particular
That's
purpose.
exactly
And that
right.
would be
That's right.
perfect.
And that's how it's.
But can I just say to Paul, this isn't by the way, because if we don't get this right, people, forgive me, but like yourself, will criticise because we're not following the procedures, or the procedures aren't
that's
clear
exactly
enough.
what a point of order is.
Yeah.
And I believe, according to the standing orders as they stand,
You should
Beyond-
always have a public participation section.
sorry,
So are you saying that there should
I'm,
always
sa-
be a public
I'm saying according to our
participation
standing orders,
Yeah.
that's how it should be. Which means there should be information come forward before the meeting for them to, well, you know, public participation is to comment on the
Of course.
business of
Yes,
the meeting.
well that would sound right for next week.
Yeah, I think
The
Paul's
only-
meaning from this week for the budget meeting that the public should have been here, should be allowed to participate tonight.
No,
No, I don't agree with
I
that.
don't, to be honest.
Okay,
but
so going
definitely,
forwards.
Well,
what
we've got to
should
come
I
to a decision,
what
I'll
should I
make a
put?
point of order, and I'll
Okay,
No,
what do we do?
with respect, points of order are things that you're doing that are, that the chair must answer points of order. But it's got to be something that this council can change. Like, an individual councillor cannot speak for longer than whatever it says in the standing orders, that's a point of order. Or if you're doing something to which you have no power to do, that is a standing order. Most other things aren't.
Well, let's take it to an extreme then. I mean, what you can do is you can adjourn the meeting and you can publish an agenda as I would hope to see it.
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay, well that's what I'm proposing.
And I'm saying
Can we
no.
have that
Is there a second?
responded to?
It depends if there's a seconder.
Yes. And it depends, what does your standing orders say? Do you have to have a seconder?
Not for anything, please.
Oh,
Not for anything by this council.
so,
It's done then.
Do we need to, being as we're all new, do we need to have a look at all the standing orders?
well, yeah.
With a view to reviewing them? This is crazy. Every time we have a meeting, there's problems over what's on the agenda, what's not on it, what was in the minute, was there a resolution passed or was it just a decision? It just seems stupid that we can't just have a nice, simple, straightforward way of dealing with business.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So what,
I'll accept however you want to deal with it, and if it's rejected, I don't expect it to be recorded.
Oh,
so are these standing orders visible? Is there a?
Yeah.
Yes,
Can
yes,
we
our
all
standing
copy
orders.
of them?
Yeah, they're on the website.
Okay.
There's a copy, I think Paul printed off a load. Did you print them?
There
Paul?
should be a copy for every set of everything.
In the library, so in the office, I think.
What, to take away?
Yeah.
Take away and have a look at and then
Yeah.
put that on the agenda for
Yeah,
next
go on.
time.
I
Actually,
propose we have a
can-
separate meeting.
No,
about
separate, it's a totally
standing
different, yeah,
orders. I don't
it's
think, in order for it to have a chat about standing orders, I think because if it's going to take time in going through them, I think should be a separate thing, not on next Monday's meeting, because there's
Yeah.
already so many things going to be on it.
But if it's this important, I think
But
we
we
should
can
all
have
have
an-
a night of it.
Yeah, but we should have a meeting
Yeah,
about
that's
it,
fine.
definitely.
Yep.
I think that's.
I think that's great.
Is that
It is-
Would you be happy
Well,
with that?
Yes.
Simple,
Yeah.
straightforward.
Yeah, so we can prevent all
In
this.
the 19th century,
No,
I
we're
mean,
not.
some of
Can
this
I make
word.
another
Can I say-
suggestion?
Just
Yeah.
before, these now standing orders are so,
Outdated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we,
it was,
You need the new ones, you need
Yeah.
the latest one.
I was going to say, yeah,
Let's
do we
look
have?
at Jill.
Could I just
Yeah.
say, Paul, if it's okay with you, maybe you could give me a copy of the standing orders, because I think that there are hard copies, so I can go through those whilst I'm away. And then actually, maybe you and I could look at the NANC standing orders, we could look at the Dunchurch standing orders, and we can go through them item by item. And
It's
then
ju-
actually...
yeah, I mean, it's just I had different expectations of an ordinary meeting, that's all. So,
And that's fair
I
enough.
understand, because
Yeah.
then you get
Different to what
frustrated. I
you
understand that.
Yeah.
which is why I'm pursuing it.
I understand that.
Absolutely.
But surely you're pleased with the outcome, which is that we're going to review root and
Yeah,
branch.
If they're the
The way the
barriers
council
to us
operates.
carrying on with...
And what more can we do?
Yeah.
I think if everybody has a clear understanding
Yes.
of what their role is and what they need to do, then I think that that might be a good idea.
Yes,
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
you should
Yeah.
meeting, that'd be brilliant.
Going
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
This
This
is
is all
all
new,
we
then
need
you've
to
got the new ideas, Paul has the old standard and put them together.
Yeah.
So what's
So we can just
functional?
Yeah.
We just want to...
Mark,
Well,
Change the
you
word
can-
and
you
it's
can
done,
sort of
Church.
tailor
That
your
would be
standing
very good.
orders
Thank you.
to...
Yeah.
Thank you. How good you came.
Yes, thank you.
So do I need to say anything else? That's it done, is it? Oh, wait till we're finished.
Why is it warm in here when you're sitting?
Oh, I just
Someone's worked out
noticed.
how it works.
Well, there's no more air conditioning going on my ankles, it's warm.
We had a meeting here this morning. David, and you were here.
Yes,
That's been on all day.
That's been on the day.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a warm area over there, and they said it was
And I
put
did
the
think
heating
about it
on.
afterwards, and I thought, no, it would be nice for everybody.
Shall I admit something last week? When I came to open and close the library just before Christmas, I got in such a panic at the end about setting the alarm, I forgot that I had to switch the heating on. So when I came in the morning to talk to the lady about the doors, she said, "Did you leave the heating on?"
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, oh, I was sorry. 'cause
Please
it's a
fly
waste.
over and think we're doing drugs.
She didn't say, oh, it was nice and warm.
No, she was quite stern.
Believe it or
I
not.
had my painting clothes on. I honestly did think she thought it was a tramp walking through.
That's oh, brilliant.
Sorry, you ready, Bill?
Yeah,
Okay.
Can I go to the next one?
minutes. Still, we're still on item 4.
Sorry, what do I need to say now?
Minutes.
Oh, minutes, yeah. You had a...
Are you happy with it as a true record?
I've got a couple of problems.
Which is,
I thought we spent a minute talking about numbering.
Numbering?
oh, yes,
Read
yes,
through
yes.
the meeting.
I decided that as you are going to have a new clerk,
We'll do it
I
again.
would leave the numbering system to her, because she
I think we'll
numbers
start
hers
again.
differently
Yeah.
We have a crazy
to mine.
system. That's fine.
I thought that would be better, because you will get confused between my numbering system and her numbering system and no numbering system. So I thought that for the sake of 3 minutes at the outside, 3 sets of minutes, then it would be
I
better
just
to do
need
it that
to
way.
act.
At least I hope you don't mind, but I thought that would probably suit you as a council
That's a
better.
good idea, yeah.
It does, I think.
Otherwise, it's just all, we need to start, yeah. We need
Start
to like
fresh.
go, what?
Shall I brief from fresh?
Yes.
Because I'll do my minutes
That's
and
right.
agenda completely differently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I can't wait the fact that this agenda's is the last one I ever do, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah, that's
But
what I
are
mean.
you okay? Can we have a proposer and seconder?
Oh.
Banking,
Thank you.
I'd like struck out. Councillor Waller involvement in setting up the payment scheme with direct debits? Because that was not.
It was.
It was.
It was.
No, it wasn't.
It was both.
I said we
It
need
was
to
both
set,
of us.
I said we need to set up direct debits, get the paperwork done for next
Yeah.
month, and there was 1, 2, 3 people at least that said no paperwork to set up, nothing to be done. So I want that to be on
You
record.
had the contact, it was said to you because you had the passwords, usernames and passwords for a lot of them to set up.
No, it was said that they weren't to be set up by me. I was nothing to, no paperwork to be set up, and nothing to be done.
But how would anybody else do it because we didn't have access to anything? That's the only thing, I don't know how.
My recollection is that I was having no involvement in the settlement.
It says here, Councillor Price noted that
Councillor Waller has set up a list of all invoices that should be
The
paid
Councillor
quickly.
Waller has set up a list of all invoices that should be paid quickly.
so you'd already done
You'd
that.
already done it.
Yeah.
You found
did it,
it on the
that's-
old agenda,
Yeah.
saying that they should all
Well, then
be.
that's wrong as well, because I hadn't. That was a list that was circulated on March
Yeah,
last year
2019,
by
yeah.
Mrs. Knowles. Or no,
No,
by
that might
Lindsay.
It was agreed at the council, it was
I-
agreed at the council.
I,
that's what you
yes,
said.
I circulated that as something which, basically, we were given a nod to the fact that it had already been on the agenda, that
Yeah.
direct debits were necessary, and this was the appropriate list to aim for to do.
Yeah,
So what's wrong with
I've
that?
had no involvement, and I didn't say I was having any involvement in setting direct debits up.
All that it says, Paul, is that Councillor Waller has set up a list of all invoices.
That should be
I
done.
hadn't set up a list of
Okay.
invoices, I'd
Well,
circulated
we
the
did.
items.
Well, circulated
Circulated,
is only
just change the
marginally
word.
different from setting up, isn't it? I mean, you must have got the information from somewhere, that could be called setting
Check.
up.
Are you happy with circulated?
Yes, that's
All I
true.
did was circulate.
Look,
Yeah,
just write circulated, then initial,
A list of suppliers
I'll initial one.
were suitable for.
whilst they're doing that, have we actually moved over to?
yeah,
direct
well,
debits?
we haven't gone yet, it's in the change, I'm just waiting for the, Paul's got some using it, like Nest and different, people, things like that I haven't got access to, I can't do
Will
those.
you
Gamma
give the
I've done
passwords
today.
to you?
And
But that's
is there anything else?
Yes,
Oh.
the nest. I didn't give an explanation of the nest provision. I just gave a.
You did. Well, you give an explanation to me, I mean.
Not of the nest provision. I know nothing about nest. All I told you was about the correspondence and the fact that I'd applied for a form to make a change of contact. That
That's
is
an
it.
explanation of the nest provision.
That's
The
fine.
nest is a bit more complicated.
I know
it's very-
Well, I could not explain anything about nest.
How would you
other
like
than
it
the
reworded to say what you think happened?
Anyway, okay.
I didn't give any explanation.
What did you do?
I just went.
Councillor Wallace showed the nest provision.
Or mentioned. What about mentioned?
Yeah, because nobody knew what Nest was.
You
until
did
then.
explain what it was.
It's all right. Put mentioned. Take out, gave an
It
explanation.
sounds like I'm in control.
No, it
I'm not in
doesn't.
control. I
Listen
still haven't,
up, please.
I still haven't been.
Come here.
Doesn't sound like that to
It
me.
doesn't sound like that to me either.
Anyway, let's get these minutes.
Are you happy with the fact that it says you will follow this up?
Because you were waiting for the form to come.
4K. I already had it a week after.
Yeah, but that's in here, in this minute.
That's at that
That's
point in
accurate.
time.
Yeah,
yeah.
At the time, the day after that,
Yeah.
that's when it occurred.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just as long as it doesn't give the impression
Okay,
that I'm
fine.
in control.
Any others?
Proposer and a seconder?
Proposed, so it's signed off. Minutes are signed off.
Yes.
Seconded.
It's always by Jan.
Chase, was it?
Proposed.
Proposed
Tracey.
by Tracey.
Second was
Oh.
John.
What?
Somebody else.
Yeah, it's item 15, it was supposed to have been confidential. And now the world knows, including the county council, that we wouldn't be chasing after those greens to register them as at the land registry.
Where did it say?
You said you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but why?
If it's
is it-
supposed to be confidential,
Why is
the initial stages, of course it won't be when it's done. Because we're in conflict with the county council over ownership and over them thwarting them
Is it
and doing their.
Why
No,
is
I didn't know that. Nobody
Why
whole thing.
Then it would
That
have
was-
with anybody.
That was in that report that I circulated to everybody before the meeting.
Yeah, but was it on the agenda that said it's a confidential matter?
Yes,
It just said legislation procedures.
it said legal item.
I didn't know that was a legal item.
Why registry not legal?
No, I don't know these things. You need to explain these things, Paul, if
I
that's
didn't know that was legal.
But we sat and
We talked about other things, but I
Items
didn't know
to
that was legal.
we got to item 50 and you didn't.
Yeah.
You wanted to move on quickly. I said, hold up, we can have this and this is confidential.
Yes.
Yes. So we agreed that we should find out how to register those bits of land.
Yeah.
We go through the process. And now that is in open minute, with no mention of the fact that anything it never went into.
Yeah. That in itself doesn't really matter. That in itself will not compromise you in any shape or form with the county council. You are just doing it for this council. The county has got no interest in individual councillors doing things for the council. If the county say that that's their land and you are going to do something else with it, that's a matter for this council. It's nothing to do with the county. If they own it, they own it. If they want to register as something else, that's what they want to do. But that doesn't stop you.
I would prefer the intention to have remained quiet until it was actually gone through the first stages with the land registry.
Okay.
I would have preferred it to have remained. Anyway, it's out there now.
But
Would it?
it's out.
This sounds as though I'm getting at you, but I'm not. Would it be helpful if you had a look at the minutes, because you'll have them, and wherever your name is mentioned, raise it with Marie before we actually have the meeting, so that, or with.
We're hoping to have the meeting the minutes quite a bit earlier than the.
Again, I think that if you'll forgive me for butting in, what I would probably do is actually send a draft copy to both Marie and to Councillor Waller, and then Councillor Waller will go through them. I mean, I aim to get my minutes out. It's only a personal thing, within 7 days. Just because I feel more comfortable doing that, and you forget.
It's much better to see that there are potential problems and to deal with them than
And
to
so
wait until a meeting.
What I would,
Makes it
so
very hard.
Councillor Waller would come back to me with, I disagree with X, Y, Z.
Can I make the general point? I'm not getting at anyone. People don't remember what they said. They remember what they think they said. And that's always different. And I write stuff down. I've got no axe to grind with it, but I just write down what's said.
Can I just ask, I know there's something key on that, but Paul, do you feel that someone outside of this meeting is trying to get at you, and therefore you are being very careful about what is put in the public domain because they might use ammunition against you in some way? Is that what is behind all this?
There is potential to stop that work at the crossroads if we apply ourselves.
But
Well,
you
I
need to
can't see-
communicate that to us, Paul.
That wasn't
If you haven't communicated that to us, we don't know.
Did you read the report from the Campaign for the Preservation of
No,
Rugby?
no.
Well, it was circulated.
Well, loads of things it's if you don't
Exactly,
see
we are
information-
inundated with information.
Yes, it needs to be put on, and it's
Well,
it's a
Should have said
priority.
this is
This is
priority.
really important.
When I look at the planning applications, if there's something that I think, like the corner shop, which is in the middle of the village, and other councillors may want a view, and it's important, then as I did this week, I
Yes.
circulated
Yeah.
it. But someone who wants dormer windows, I don't need to bother everybody
No.
with that detail, because it's...
That was the whole idea of splitting work up, so that because before we were all getting everything that came in, and
Yeah.
you just can't read it.
No, I wouldn't get too het up about what you've done in the past, because I'm
Yeah.
very organised.
That's it, everything's
So
in a
I'm
bit
really, really
yeah.
sorry, and I'll say this now.
No, that's great.
But I have sort of ideas on how I would manage it. And I mean, part of that would be to send the draft minutes to Councillor Waller to see what he thinks. I mean, I always send them to somebody because I want some kind of input, because
Yeah.
I can interpret something in a completely different way.
Yeah.
You know, that's the nature of clerking, as Bill might interpret something.
Would it not be fairer to circulate them to all the draft minutes?
No, I wouldn't have to go any, well, personally,
No,
I'd say let
overkill.
it Marie and somebody
Overkill,
else.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
right, fair enough.
Because otherwise you end up then, because you still have a chance to have your say at the meeting, in a way. You still have, it's not, it's just, I
Fair
certainly wouldn't have the time
I
to do
mean, the
it.
meetings should be simple, the issues,
Yes,
the
that's
decisions
I
should
think
be
with
laid
Paul's
out.
knowledge, we can benefit from that, I think that's.
Yeah.
But my point about planning is that if Paul has read a document and has got something that he thinks, you know, this is important,
That's right.
then he should, in my view, alert us
Yes.
to that particular point.
Yes.
Oh, I sent an email tonight, sorry, I forwarded one on it, and I put in the header, this has a time-sensitive deadline and a date,
Yeah.
so that it's not a, God, that'll be next week, I'll get to it. It's a, we need to
Yeah.
do, we need to look at it by the 17th, if you're gonna look at
I
it.
think we should have a code word action. If you need to do something in the world, if anything is important, we have action and we always send it as important.
We used to have like high priority
Yeah.
action or medium action,
Yeah,
or like, and then if you left it, it was no action.
yeah.
It was a,
Because I think otherwise you're just going to, because you do get, I'm aware that we've had loads and I thought I've purposely, and I don't send you everything that I get because otherwise you'd
And I
be,
don't.
because I think, do everybody need to know this? No. Does everybody need to know this? No. Got an inquiry on this, I'll send the inquiry on, get the inquiry back, then I'll tell you, this is the outcome.
But
That's. and
Jill
this
will
is
be doing
learning.
all this,
Yeah,
won't
Yeah.
she?
will be doing
Yeah.
all this, yeah, and I will be filtering things through to
Yeah.
you,
Like
Yeah.
I said.
and I will say, I won't say action, I'll just say response needed.
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
That's not, yeah.
See, we've had such a backlog of things to deal with, and we're all at different levels of knowledge within the council, that, as Paul will point out, we keep hitting things that we have to deal with, and it stops us dealing with the other things that
Yeah.
we feel are not being dealt with.
Tonight is a very good example.
Yeah, but this is what we're learning, this is why we'll look to you and Paul for help in these procedures, and Bill.
Right.
Don't get eaten by a lion in South Africa, please.
Who's going there?
Right, sorry, don't start that.
Right, okay.
Sorry.
So minutes are now done, let's move on. Matters right.
Can we, you've had a proposal that they be approved as a
John
two
seconded
record.
them.
Yeah.
And a second,
John
Yes.
seconded them.
all in favour?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
You know. Right, can you sign those, please?
Done it.
And initial each page and give them.
You don't get used to signing things anymore, do you? Because they are.
Yeah.
Number 3. Matters arising from Parish Council meeting, 2nd December 2019.
You've dealt with.
What Paul's doing. Have you seen anything to add? Anything to add? Anybody? Anything to add? Nothing from me, I can remember.
You can do it. Who is that padlock job going to be paid to?
The padlock job is going to be paid to
Dunchurch
friends
or
of...
might be?
Are we,
Friends
sorry,
of
are we on
Dunchurch.
financial matters now?
No.
Oh, you just
Friends
not
of
Matters of
Dunchurch.
or matters of...
So we need to pay Friends of Dunchurch. They paid it,
Yeah,
we need to pay them.
yeah.
Okay, because that was in doubt.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You don't need really need it.
Even though it's
That's
funded.
fine.
You just put it straight onto your
Payments.
invoice.
It's not a payment, it's not a do, yeah.
Yeah, done.
Just do it.
Sorted. Moving on, point 6, financial matters. I don't know where to go with this.
Do you have any invoices that need to be paid?
Well, that's the next meeting.
Or are you going to leave
We
it
get to the next meeting and it's been sorted.
Why is it on the agenda?
Well, you could just put deferred.
Refer to
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just in case.
Yeah,
7, budget precept.
budget reset time, right. I'll show you what's been sent from Rugby Borough Council. Please don't tell me.
Oh, this is
That's a comparison stuff. Council tax base, isn't it? To show you.
you wrote down, wasn't it? That's, yeah.
You get this.
That's up to them. They calculate, we don't calculate the tax base, and we don't do the average band D. All we do is tell them, this is what we want. Pick it up for us and give it to us. We don't faff about with that stuff. It's nothing to do with the parish and town. I don't know how Rugby Borough get away with this. This is appalling.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add to the decision we've got to make here, does it?
No, it doesn't add anything. In fact, it makes life difficult. What I would do, all they need to know is, where is it? That one from Stratford. All they need to know is the date. The meeting when
They just need to know the figure.
they just need to know the date, which is tonight's date. You've got it
So
on
the 6th of January.
the 6th of January, at the meeting, it was, this is all they need to know. Why they send you this nonsense, I really do not know. You've got it. That thing from Stratford,
Yeah.
the one
What's
on,
under here? Where's it gone?
That's yours, is it? So,
Stratford and Avon District Council.
oh,
You found it, you found it.
Good. This is all, this is how Stratford do it, and this makes much more sense. All they say, the town and parish council, the date of the meeting when the precept was agreed, the budget requirements, the precept amount agreed in figures. To commence from there, give me your bank details, sign it, who you are, contact telephone number, email, and that's all.
But they just
It's,
we just have to tell them the amount according to this bit of Lindsay. I think that's just to assist your parish council. Can you
I've got
please
Mrs.
send it?
Knowles' email from last
you're
year.
2021 by Friday's 10th.
There was more.
That's brilliant. You're going to have to do this tonight.
It's by the 10th of January.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so we need to
There was
email
more
them.
pleasantries in it.
Tonight.
Paul's,
That's
as I
it.
said,
The
last
email
year,
from Mrs. Knowles last year, which I asked,
she was the RFO.
Yeah.
there was 2 lines of pleasantries and 1 line saying we need the precept, our demand is. And that's it.
And that's all,
Where did
that's
she
all
get
you
that-
need
Where
to
did she
do.
get that from though? Where
From a
did she?
meeting.
From
Oh,
a
there was a
meeting.
meeting.
Right, so,
Right.
if they're going to have it by the 10th, you're going to have to decide tonight
Yeah.
and email it directly to
This lady.
Sally Campbell.
Yeah.
Well, you can do that tonight anyway.
I
Right.
actually made a suggestion.
She?
Where did you say there was 102?
No, that's what I thought this was.
Let's have a look. Excuse me.
Is it this what this is? Is this their suggestion?
No, that's just that's for them. Enter a precept.
But this is.
Right, okay, I see what you've done. Column E. If you enter a precept amount in the highlighted cell in there, that should actually, it should calculate the
So-
Oh, so
effect
what
of
year
the
is that?
band
So
That's
we,
last year.
that's last year, so we need to increase it.
D. Yeah,
From that, we need to increase it, but what do we increase it?
Well, we're at
You don't have
96.
to.
no, it says
No, we're
you're
not
102,
This says we're
164.
102, 164.
Hang on, you may have to give them some additional information.
That's
what I
there,
thought.
this is Rugby Borough Council.
But it's for us to.
See,
set it.
96
That's
is
a
there.
suggestion.
Oh,
Is that a,
No?
2020, 21, so this is this
no.
year.
It's the same as that. That's
So that's
different.
the suggestion, so we say 1.5.
So are you saying, Paul, you had 96,660?
that's the year just ending.
Right.
Yeah, 96,660.
So they're giving you, that seems to be just an example. All right, what you can do, do us a favour,
Let me type, shall I type in, for example, 99?
You haven't put the comma.
Why don't you put 102, comma, 164, 164?
Surprised they have
Comma.
commas. Commas are unusual. spreadsheet.
What did you say, 1?
6
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, like the data doesn't usually deal well with columns.
Yeah.
Does it, Paul?
It's the same.
If that's a
But
spreadsheet,
it
you don't
doesn't seem to like this. I did that.
All right, so can you try 99,000, comma,
It's
000?
it's a formatting that you can turn
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
It doesn't matter
Oh, is
if
it,
it's
well,
there or
it's not
not.
big enough?
If you're doing numbers and you've
No.
got in the wrong
It might be the
place,
Oh,
same.
yeah, it's leave it
Yeah,
out.
it's legitimate.
Yeah.
An operator, but it's not.
Systems often automatically
And then
produce
put
space.
10 whatever.
Between
We've got
thousands.
199 just for
As in just 199.
199 comma 199,000 just so it does. Yeah,
Yes,
it
it
wasn't wide enough to cut the
Yeah.
colour. That's all those patches were.
Right, so there's no grant funding, so the average band D,
It's ended, yeah.
it seems to have worked it out. Well, let's go back, take that off there, please. And the other one, the one at the top, yeah.
So you need to agree the precept
You
And
need
then
to-
stick it in that.
And then
put
and then put it in there, and
and
then,
then send it off to Sammy.
I don't see how that can actually work. So,
So it was 96,660 last year, and they're suggesting the way to be 102. Anyway, should we move on to what?
no, they're not suggesting that they're just giving you
Calculate how to do it.
how to do it.
So how much have we got before? Because it's got 12,000, isn't it?
Is there some sense to that figure, is it?
Say that.
Is that percentage change that?
I'm just working
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, just
So- It was an increase of 7 approximately overnight.
They increased it last year by 2.4.
It was 8,000,
Which is-
wasn't it? Yeah.
That's a 7.3% increase if I'm just using round figures. That seems a bit.
Yeah. So, can we?
I'll put 7 over 96. Is that those are the right figures? I think.
So 96, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Right. Column A, that's the calculation for the average band D for 1819. Column B is the calculation for the average band D council tax for 1920. Column C, it shows the effect. If the, oh yes, I see what they're doing. What they're saying is that this column here shows what will happen if you want the
Is
parish
that
the
the
same amount as in 1920. Column D shows the parish can precept if they want the band D to remain the same as in 1920.
19 years.
As in
Oh,
2019.
19 stroke 20.
That's fine.
That's
Current
American.
fund.
Why are you doing that?
Because they don't want us to unduly influence their
No,
figure better than the
no,
public.
or to understand it either.
So- So sit, right, so what you've got to do now is to sit and work out what you need to run Dunchurch PLC for 2021, the year 2021. 31st of March, 1st of April 2020 to the 31st of March 2021. And that's what you've got to do tonight. Sit and work out what you think you need. Now, the things you do know, you know how much you had last year.
Yeah.
96,660 pounds.
Yeah.
Now, Alice has said this has to be dealt with tonight because they're saying they want it by 20 to 10, which is a little early.
Can you remember the figure?
Yeah, can you? What was it? 96,600.
660, wasn't it? 96,660, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So, that's
The
19.
training's going to go up from 200 quid to probably 10,000.
Training, it's not going to go up to 10,000.
Well, you work out 10 councillors, £30 a pop. Everybody getting to the same standard. And
10 councillors at 30,000.
Train them all together.
Yeah.
So they'd be,
200
they'd
quid a shop.
however you can arrange to do it then.
Well, yeah, I can train you all
Yeah,
in
Well, I
one
think
kit.
it's better we're all done together, because then we all have an understanding, we've all been
I'm-
at the same time.
I'm
the
just
same person.
gauging my walk.
You are absolutely right. It's that in my view, 200 quid is not enough.
No, it's not nowhere near,
Right,
but
no.
10,000 is an extreme.
10,000, no.
Well, I mean, they allowed one year, well, the last year it's just gone, they had a big chunk on about 400, 500 quid for, it might be more, it could be more than that, because they paid for, can't get the word out, Miss Oster,
Oh, yeah,
to be
the
fully
civil code.
qualified.
Oh, yes. Well, you don't have that to pay for. Jill is.
Right, let's go what we do have to pay for.
Right, so, take a look at,
Electricity for lighting, street,
yeah,
20.
what is that likely to go up by?
How can we do this when we don't have projected costs of electricity?
Well,
It's
just go
fairly,
by-
fairly
yeah.
stable,
We can
Well,
just
it's
gauge.
fairly stable.
it does. It doesn't vary. It always increases.
What's the retail price increase?
2.4, I think, or 2.1.
That would be a start.
And that would be applied to most of the services we pay for.
Yes.
You're around 18,000 for electricity. It's there. That's what we know.
So this may or may not be relevant, but what about money we've got in the bank?
That's, yeah, we've
That's-
got,
That's
have
all
that
that's
in.
nothing.
Not to work
It
with.
is absolutely relevant.
We have
Yeah.
£198,000 in our bank.
Right,
Yes.
But,
In another account.
but there are some big
I
items
have-
that it could be spent on without any much difficulty.
And we have extra,
well,
that we have with the bank account.
according to this, in the cooperative bank, you have £186,000.
it's gone up now,
It's
it's
now
December.
it's now 198, isn't there?
Well, yeah, that's a current account. You've got nothing in a reserve account. You have a long-term Scottish widows
Yeah,
of £26,500. So that's fine. And that gives you a total of 212,000. Now, the Scottish widows is a long-term investment.
With no risk.
But
That's
with
what-
no
no
risk.
return.
So you can, if necessary, ignore that. You can keep that to one side saying, we have 26.5 grand if push comes to shove. The other thing you might need to talk to Jill about is the balances in the cooperative bank. That does seem a lot of money that you're hanging on to.
I did say that before.
And it may pay you to actually move that about a bit,
yeah.
to have, but that's,
That's going forwards.
yeah, that's something you could talk about later, much later.
Does that influence what we can apply for?
No, you're not applying for anything, you're demanding it.
Okay.
It only becomes, you only have to tell them more once you start going above 140.
Yeah.
Once you start going
It's
above 140,000,
140,000.
you've got to tell them why you're doing it, so that you're not putting it into reserves.
Right, yeah.
So you've got to have projects in mind if you want to go above that. But you started last year with £96,660. That's what you got from there. Where else do you get money from?
Reliably get money
Pardon?
from. Not the windfall stuff.
No, the windfall stuff never ever
When you
counts.
say windfall, do you mean 106?
Section 106.
You don't get many of them.
Because you don't get money. Will you get money from SIL,
Don't know what that
Community Infrastructure Levy?
is. Don't know what that
But
is.
there should be something worked in.
It's
for
a
everything
similar
going on.
kind of thing to section
It's the
106.
nets. Yeah.
We
it's
got-
current incarnation.
£1.5 grand from one development, one house. If you don't have a neighbourhood, the SIL is taken up as part of section 106. Central government didn't like that, so they've altered it. So companies have to pay a SIL, a community infrastructure levy, dependent upon the square meterage of the development.
If you have a neighbourhood development plan, it's
If
25%.
you get 25%,
If you don't have a neighbourhood
Yeah.
development plan, it's 15%.
50%. And that
So
could
it's
be,
still
that could be,
Well,
you've got a lot of development.
We have,
That-
we have the houses going up.
But
haven't we?
did that come in before the sill was set? You're going to have to talk to Rugby Borough. Hard though it may be.
I don't understand this, sorry. What would I be asking Rugby Borough for?
They
I wouldn't
control
even bother with that because I'll be doing that when I start.
Okay,
Fine, thanks, Jim. Yeah.
no problem.
Fine.
Can I
Sorry.
say something?
We keep talking and...
No, that's
No,
fine.
no,
Do
no.
it. That's
That's
it.
fine.
Yes, do
Can I
it.
say something? As we've got a lot of money and we are inexperienced and we're not terribly sure, we need, the most important thing is ongoing costs and make sure that we don't go into deficit. And if the inflation rate is 2.4%, did you say?
I think the RP, the retail price index is running at either 2.1 or 2.4.
If it is, well, I've worked out on 2.4, then we come up with a figure of 98,979.
I'll agree with that.
And then, following on from Jill's point, I think it was, about people making suggestions for how the money might be spent, then we can look at their suggestions. We can look at some other things that have come in, like the church cutting. Just I know some might be inadmissible, but we've had another one for cutting the grass at the sports. And there are other things that might come in. We've got old-fashioned street lights here. They're not LED. Very expensive to and you don't get your payback for years. But nevertheless, you know, it might be a good way to spend some of the money. So I just don't think that we're in a position tonight to do more than enough to take us through. And then we really seriously need to look at meetings at some of these suggestions. And we need to lay down criteria as well. For instance, I'm burbling a bit, but I don't think that we should be paying ongoing costs like cutting grass. If the sports people want support for the parish council, they should have a project that they would like to apply for funding for, not an ongoing, you know.
It's assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question you ask yourself, I didn't realise it. Why would you be filling sports like that?
Well, partly because it's been done in the past, and so we're over a barrel now, in that we wouldn't want to let them down at the last minute.
The sports field and the village hall used to be two separate charities.
Yeah.
The sports field was in dire straits and they were being
Rescued.
rescued. And then they merged, and then they're on really sound financial footings. They don't need him outside.
So
That's that little bit, 750 asking for is next to nothing.
Could
Could I just put my 10 points in? I think because the amount that you've got in the bank, I wouldn't even consider putting on a precept because you're bound to get some kind of backlash from the community saying, how on earth have you put up the precept? I mean, you could explain inflation and everything, but I still think because you've got quite a fair amount in the bank.
But if you froze it this year, and then you spent that money that's in the bank, and the only reason it hasn't been spent, I guess, is because the council's been in disarray, and they've been focusing on all the wrong things for at least the last 12 months, possibly longer. But then next year, you're stuck in on a base of 96, and then if you wanted to go above inflation to catch up, then there'll be people saying, why do you want to do that? You know.
How do you justify that?
Well, I think we might.
But I justify it by saying that there are things in the pipeline that are expensive. They haven't been dealt with because the council fell apart temporarily. We intend to bring us back into line. And what this money is for, largely, is for ongoing costs, which are subject to inflation.
So as long as we can justify it, Is that
Yeah.
we've got a reason, it's not just we felt like it, we
And
picked
that-
a number and stabbed at it and went, that one will
Yeah,
do.
and that was my
There's a
point.
reason,
You
yeah.
know, if you do raise it because of
What percentage of the
Not just
96?
councillor one.
As far as the street lighting go, they were upgrading, they were coming up with a scheme, they did about 18 last year, I presume they were going to continue. So.
Yeah.
But there are definitely offers and still ones with
There are, yeah.
And they are expensive.
They are very.
1,600 a pop.
Yeah.
Right, I
That's-
was asking how
that-
much they are.
And it's
So,
3,000.
that's just casual information.
Me, just to finish, does this 96 odd grand, how much of that is actually consumed by ongoing costs, and therefore how much would be left to add to this massive reserve?
Admin's been a big cost. 46.
But so do we have a figure?
Admin.
Do we have a figure? Will we spend?
That's
Will,
it,
will
yeah.
we spend 96 grand on ongoing costs?
But we've got a lot to catch up on, that's the trouble.
So, it
Because
will
nothing's
soon
been done for
know.
so long in the village.
If you've got 10 street lights to change,
We've got loads.
although Councillor Waller's right, it works out about 1,600 quid a pop, it actually, you have to pay out £2,000 a pop, which you then claim the VAT back.
Okay, so you pay it out and then get.
You pay it out and you get it back, but
yeah.
you've got to pay it out.
Yes,
But
okay.
you have a rolling programme, wouldn't you?
Well,
So if we did
that's
10
what
years,
we need
yeah.
You would have
to
thought so.
hammer out, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
for
that's-
instance, did you notice on the way in that the double glazed windows on the front are all blown? You know, does the upkeep of this place look
Yeah.
like?
This is a, and
That's
that's
the
a
106,
cost,
isn't it, we were looking at though?
So we've got £10,000 that's come for the library. We have to spend it on the library itself.
Yeah.
The library building, not the library.
No, anything we like, so inside to make it better.
So we were saying about the office, the parish council office, weren't we, about getting that sorted?
That's the thing I'd like to see accounts. I'd like to see that space being accounted for separately.
Exactly, that's what we're talking
Yes.
about, putting
I
a
agree
place,
with
pushing
that.
the wall up, that's all damp on that wall,
So if we
but I'm sure
quantify
it's-
it is in the accounts, the
Exactly.
benefit of that space to
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all-
So
I mean,
I'd
and-
say that's a separate, so that wouldn't be in the 10 grand.
the system
That'd be a separate
that
thing.
you
Okay.
have got set up will do that for you. You can set up a cost centre, as I recall from Edge. You set up a cost centre.
Oh, right, okay, so yes, so the parish council office has its own cost centre. and
It's a
everything
cost
gets
centre
set-
of its own.
Yeah,
You just
we,
bring
yeah,
that and you pull that off.
everything that comes in for that, you just put the cost code in and it just.
Yeah. We need new computers in here.
That,
No, I know, but
Yeah.
you know, it's the
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
thing
this
that-
is what happens, you start looking, you
Yeah.
say, we need this, we
Also,
need
I
this.
wanted to ask about signage. So to me, there's not enough speed signs in the village, like in the laws that flash. We've got them in certain places.
Then you'll have to, well, to start with, you can't do them yourself.
No,
You
to go
need
through
permission
the-
from the county council to do that.
Okay.
Simply because it's their land,
Yeah.
it's their road. And they will not fund them. They
It's
will
not
not.
that bit, that's what I mean, we have to pay for it. But
So
I
you
don't know how
have
much
to
it
pay
is.
for them yourselves.
Things
And
like the notification of where the school is, isn't it? People, the two lads at our assembly, the new dads that arrived from the village, didn't signpost it. So if you come to pick your child up, or your grandchild up, if you don't know where it is, you don't know where it is.
Yeah, who do we contact about school
that
signs?
too is signs are the highways.
Okay, so it's the highways people, okay.
Yes?
No, not always.
Always.
Stratford District Council do signs.
Do some street signs, but
Yeah.
school.
So we could ask Richard.
Yeah.
School
Yeah.
is, education is.
But again, Tracy,
Education is the county.
that would be the kind of thing that Jill
Actually.
would do.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
But in terms of something else I thought of, so loads of people have been on at me about how crap, bad word, I picked up that, our park is.
The what?
For
Yeah.
children, how poor our
Park.
park is.
The
So
park.
why aren't
Yeah,
we
small
investing in the park?
Arkwright Rock.
Who owns the park? You?
We do.
Yeah.
Like,
You can
I'd
spend
like,
money on it.
I'd like to see high fence.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about actually, you know, because we need to look at that, don't we?
There used
Before
to be a
night-
high fence.
Yeah,
People could play there.
a lot of people have started the houses in Atkinson Avenue and put gates in the back of their fences to access the park.
Somebody
Well, it's
else's
not their
land.
land.
You wouldn't do that to your neighbour, would you?
And so we're talking about the high ball,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
field, but you can't play football on it because the balls disappear over into the garden. So we're talking about, you know, like get the high Harris fencing or whatever
Yeah.
around schools,
Yeah.
something like that.
The that too is expensive. You can do that. That's expensive.
But something
But
we
it
can
made
look
the
at.
space
But if you
usable,
were
but
going
it
to
isn't
do that,
usable.
you would immediately then say to the road, put an illegal gate in, that's got to stop.
Yes, yeah.
I'd say that I'd like it to be tasteful, for instance.
Oh, absolutely, it will be tasteful, yes.
Not, schools look like prison.
No, but it was the idea, that's what I mean, it was the
Yeah,
idea, it was the
Shilton's
principle
got
that
a
it.
good fence to keep
I'll be
their
putting
playing
trees up.
field.
Yeah.
Can I ask something else that may or may not be relevant? Who else do we employ apart from Jill?
Just Jill.
What about the guy who does the...
He's a subcontractor. So he's just he's a handyman at
Yeah, but who pays him?
Parish
Yeah.
Council.
So we do. So we...
But he's
We're not
an
his employer.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
Same as Sue the cleaner.
Who do we feed money out to for
Him.
their work apart from Jill?
Sue
Him.
the cleaner
Yeah.
and Matt the handyman.
Right. And do their wages, and indeed Jill's wages, do they get annually reviewed in the light of inflation and so on?
So employee would, the subcontractors, the ownership is on him.
Right.
If he decides, I'm sorry, could we pay £12, if I want to put up £20, then we go, yes, we're fine to pay you £20, exactly as you would
Right.
a normal business.
So I have to
And do we think that that's enough employment? Do we think that what is required to be done in the village to keep it up to the standard that we want can be done?
We have to,
Yeah,
sorry, I'm interrupting
It's
now.
a contract to do.
It's very good, but what we need to do is, Matt will admit himself that he has never been tasked with doing certain jobs. So he just goes around and does what he thinks, not what he feels, because he is a real hard worker. But it's only when we started to point things out, didn't we?
Everything I've asked him to do,
He's done it, and he's kept the village clean,
Yeah.
and he's going to look after the gateway signs.
that he
because
never got asked to do before.
The gateway signs were put in, organised by the parish council, put in with no maintenance programme.
What?
So how many hours does he do?
An hour and a half a day.
Yeah.
Time sheets, averaging about 30 hours a month,
Yeah.
totaling about
500 quid. 550.
can't be one, 4,600 a year plus his mileage.
Yeah,
And
because he
do-
drives
and
round
do
to
pay
the...
insurance.
If he's
And
such
he
a
does
good
the-
guy, I don't think we should take advantage of him
No,
financially.
well, I've actually said to him, I strongly suggest you put up your hourly rate because I think it's too cheap. And he's
It's 12.75 I worked it out, isn't it? Yeah.
it's too low.
It is too low,
I
it's
told him,
minimum
I
15.
suggested to him £15.
Yeah, minimum 15.
So,
We pay our guy £18.50.
Yeah.
yeah.
But the hours that he works and sociable stuff that he does, there's reliability into everything.
The thing is, that we
Every
don't provide any
morning.
bins for him to...
Every morning he walks up and looks at the play area,
He
doesn't
does,
he?
yes, he
To
inspects
make
the play
sure-
area.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's him that notifies us if there's been fly tipping up there or damage caused, and I don't think it's a paltry wage, but, and he's really, really keen, he'll do
Right.
anything to do,
He's the
really.
kind of guy
So
you
you're-
need, isn't
He's
he?
a perfect person.
So that suggests then that you want to put his hours up, so therefore let's go with cost review.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
put the wages
therefore
up, yeah.
percentage
Ah,
increase
okay, percentage increase in the,
I see, I was
in the
again.
precept.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
justifying it, as Jill
Yeah.
said.
And then, but do we have to, this second, decide, right, we're going to spend 20 grand on,
No,
we're going to have to do 30
No,
grand
what
on
you
do
this
do
is a
have to
vague
decide
idea.
it's the
What
total,
you- yeah.
what you want.
What you want the precept
I
to
would
be.
go by the percentage.
2.4,
Yeah,
yeah.
the only thing is, Bill got approximately 2.4% out of his head. I think we should get an official figure.
It's almost that, it's pretty
Yeah,
close.
can we
Yeah.
easily get
Have
a
you
Really
got an
got
electronic
time.
device? Can
Have
they
you got a
Google
phone?
it? Just
Just
Google
Google
inflation.
RBI.
Is it RPI? Is that,
No,
is that the one you
it's
base
not.
it on?
That's the
Well, you
retail
base it
price.
on the retail price index or the CPI, the consumer price index.
You keep hearing that.
Because there are two
Put in
different things.
inflation.
Yeah, well, I don't know which.
I think it's the consumer price index.
Yeah,
And
it sounds right.
section 137 money for our electorate tops out at 20,800.
That's right, but you don't have to pay that.
But we have been squeezing, and our grants that we made, the donations of any sort, have taken that down to just hundreds. So we've got scope for being more generous
If
and
you
more
have-
productive.
What are you doing?
You have to, but don't
We
forget,
keep hearing a noise at the
Ah.
back.
it could well be that you've got better at finding powers that you can spend money on rather than section 137, because it's not extra money. What you have to do is you have to overall
16.
fix your budget, and then your 137 comes out of that budget.
It says on here, no provision is made for the youth groups. Youth provision expenditure.
Everything's coming out of section 106 money. But I can't work out when that runs out.
Okay.
It might be in a couple
Because I
of
do
years.
feel from attending the festival group that the scouts and the guides and the rangers do need help.
They do drastically need
And
help.
I think we, if nothing else is thresholds, we should be looking
If they ask for a donation,
They
The
did.
wall in
Yes,
the
they did.
office, sorry.
at the festival group.
you told them, didn't you? They
No, Bob hasn't come back to us yet.
Are you on?
Well, that's the other big thing,
Yeah,
is that
3%.
Is it UK wide or just
3%.
England?
I would share
What's
this
that?
on 6.4.
Just CPI?
So it's the CPI or the RPI.
No,
One of them is higher
back
than
to
the
school
other.
back, anything close.
Yes, yes.
It's a consumer price index.
Yeah.
What is it, RPI?
RPI.
Protected.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think consumer sounds more.
What?
That one's 3.1. 3.1.
What's that RPI?
3.1 RPI.
And what's the CPI?
2.4.
Hang on, so 3.1 and did you say CPI? Is it not? It's really tiny, it's only a bit fast, isn't it?
That's what I've just found. You found the same thing I have.
Mine's frozen. It's too slow.
First quarter rising to 2%, 1.82 rising to 2% in the second quarter.
Second quarter, that's a long time ago.
Yes, yes, yes. These things always lie.
Right.
And let's be serious, with Brexit happening, inflation rates are only going to go up.
They're
Yes.
not going to go down, are they?
They're going down. X, Y, and
No, but as Jill says, we have to justify it. Can't
Well,
just-
You
We have
can
to be prepared to justify
You can justify what you say. We're doing more things.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And remember, as the judges always say, the remedy is in the hands of the population. When it comes to next election time, they don't like what you're doing, they'll boot you out.
Did you get 1.5%? CPIH, whatever that is, annual rate.
No, I mean, CPI is 3.1.
2.5.
Between 3 and 2.
Yeah.
So what figure should we work
I
on?
would work on 2.5.
2.5, yeah, 96, 62
2.5. What's that figure then? Shall I know this lady now?
Let's independently calculate it and see if we
No, I
get the
can't,
same.
I'll just fail miserably.
Right, clear that.
I'm too tired.
96660
Times 2.5.
times
2.5%.
times 1 point.
2.5.
2.5.
1.125 equals 99,076. I'd like somebody to check that.
Why do you do 1.5?
2.5.
2.5.
Oh, you said 1.25?
Yeah, that's what you just said.
It's 2.5.
I'm sure I fed in 2.
Oh, you actually said 1.25?
Oh, yeah, no, I was multiplying by
Oh, okay.
1.025.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm
that
thinking,
What's the sum?
Back to
99076. But I would like somebody to physically check that
So it's 9660.
times.
Yeah.
See if this computer can help.
Times 0.025 and then add on. Right, you should get the same answer.
no, so you got what I got.
But then you need to add that on.
Yes.
So you do.
Yes, if you do it that way, you add
Yeah.
it on.
And then 966. 9907650.
450.
907,650.
9.5, yeah.
We are.
Go again. Why don't we go 99100?
076.5.
Yeah.
No, because that looks like plucking a figure out.
Ah.
That will be my.
If you,
Oh, look, they just, clear.
Just
No, crumbs.
Thought of it.
They've done it to the nearest pound. Must be
We're around
accurate.
Europe.
Where is it? I'll tell you I'll show you the one which is shocking. CCC.
Oh, what a surprise, it is that one.
CCTV at traffic lights is it was budgeted for at £6,802.37 precisely. And
And what was the actual
surprise,
bill?
4 months later, that was the bill. That's how they budget that.
Yeah,
It's extraordinary.
there's a history there, Jill.
I know.
And it's still not working.
One of them still isn't working.
So we still don't.
And he still shows his face and got himself elected as a borough councillor.
I need to get one of those, what do you call them?
Oh.
Dolls.
No, he didn't. No.
Right, so are we unanimously agreeing we're going 99076?
Yeah.
Yeah, you propose.
2.5%.
Yeah. Are we going to do a proposal and second then?
Yeah.
All right, I'll propose it then.
You can second it, Paul, get involved.
No,
No, we don't want any quibble over the
Never.
minutes next time.
Then it goes
Somebody
to-
else.
I'll
Oh,
second
unanimous.
it. I'll second
Unanimous.
Councillor proposal.
I'm emailing this woman now, so it's done.
That, a precept figure,
Preset demand, shall I call it?
precept demand, yeah,
Dunchurch Borough Council.
of
Just put the Parish Council, we're not worried.
99,076.
I'm going. I'm aiming big.
I've got from Parish, I work for
50.
the Borough.
Hi, Sally.
was agreed.
I've never met you. That's a
Is
Bristol.
everybody agreed with that figure?
Unanimously
Yes,
agreed.
unanimous.
Yay! Ah.
I told my wife we'd never have a 3-hour meeting again.
Agreed. I've told
Agreed.
my babysitter has said, I'm not going to my babysitter anymore, so if it's not done in 2 hours, I'm going to leave time.
Yeah.
I'm closing it. I don't care what if anybody knows it here.
The problem is,
That's
Jill,
7 ends at 9.
Quarter past seven.
Exactly,
Quarter past eight.
No.
exactly, everybody, you're not going to bed.
Everybody's
Let's
on
go.
my
problem
time,
is-
just tell us
the
the
problem
thing.
is we spend all the time
Some
trying
people
to
ask
work
questions.
out what has to be
Yeah.
done,
Yeah.
who was going to do it, because we didn't have you in those.
Can I make another suggestion that you ring that lady tomorrow and make sure she got it and that she understood what it is you've said?
As president, parish precinct demand is happening.
At the meeting on 6th of January 2018,
It was
it
unanimously
was
Say-
unanimously agreed that the precept demand will be
At the meeting. Oh. What's it big?
Precept demand for
for
2021.
2021. Will be.
20/.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the number.
But there's still got too much to do, marking. At the meeting of
Yeah.
6th of Jan 2020, it was agreed
Unanimously
unanimously.
agreed.
I've never spoke this word in my life.
What?
Anyway, you've got your teacher there checking you. So you're okay. She had a good English
We
teacher.
did have a very good English
Who was your
teacher.
English teacher?
Mr.
He was Nick
Hopday.
Hopday, who's just died of HD. I don't know if you've ever had
What is
Huntington's
Oh,
disease.
Huntington's.
Oh.
Oh.
It's an appalling disease.
where they shrink.
They lose all muscle control. He spent the last 3 years in Bradbury Park Neurological Centre, and just no life at all. Couldn't speak in the end, fed through a tube, couldn't move.
You wouldn't do that to me.
No, absolutely appalling.
Very sad.
Anyway, yeah, I used to work with him. He used to teach Tracey.
That's my English teacher. Ashton.
And I accidentally invited her to
Oh,
his
what did you
funeral.
Excuse me, go and get a drink.
Oh my God, please do. Yes, yes, in the kitchen.
Do we need a resolution?
Or can you second it?
You've
got
It's unanimous.
You go on.
Desperate.
You mean we haven't finished?
Is that it?
Haven't we?
Finish
We've still got on
Good.
That's the trouble, isn't it?
I'm sorry, it wasn't kind of feet or something.
Takes over.
Yeah.
She will be producing you monthly figures and to the budget. This is your budget. What I suggest you do is you sit down and break that down
Yeah.
into the cost centres,
Yeah.
and you put it into Edge, and it will just work the whole thing
And
out
do we
for
do
you.
that with her when she's actually
No,
appointed?
you leave her to do it.
No, but I didn't mean physically with her. I meant on determining the cost centres. Would it be
Oh, yes, she's-
advantageous to
yes,
have
she-
her there
Yeah, she,
guiding and
she,
arguing and
yes,
stuff?
she'll do that, you'll be safe.
So we're talking about after the 1st of February.
So
Well,
that way we'll see what is needed to go out for maintenance and what is left, and then by then perhaps we'll have some idea of grants that people would be.
This is about section 106, Penny.
Yes.
So we've been told that we can have, what we will be receiving 106 money, which can go towards fixing the bus shelter.
Yes,
The bus shelter,
Section 106 money has to be spent on
that,
infrastructure.
yeah.
It can't be spent to keep the parish council going. You
But-
also have got to, if I may be, you've also got to spend it within a predetermined period, but that can be altered. But you've got to tell the district council, or in your case the borough council, what you've spent it on. And there will be another suggested format for that, like Stratford have said. So Rugby Borough will have a format by which you can inform them of how you spend that, but you'll deal with that anyway. Yeah, so Jill will deal with that. That's no problem. There won't be anything, if you keep all your bills, if they're going to spend any money before you take over, just keep those invoices.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you can alter the cost centres, put an additional one in there for the section 106 or whatever it is. So that you can pull it off and send it off to Rugby Borough.
Yeah, I'll have to be trained with this entrance.
Yeah, that's really no problem.
That would need to be a top priority then.
I'm almost certain I can remember what
Jewish training at Edge would need to be a top
Yeah.
I'll
priority.
tell you who does. You know,
I would like to see, we're still on the meeting, aren't we? I would like to see
Meeting's
that we
closing.
make more of this business of members of the parish making suggestions.
Yes.
A permanent section within the website, you know, prominent.
Feedback, yes.
But this is what the council is about, interesting. Yes.
I need to raise the website as an issue. That is the meeting, this is an ad hoc, I'm going to bring it in January next week as a heads up.
Do you want to discuss it now, or do you want that?
You can turn it off now.
Shall we finish?
It's not an official, the meeting's closed.
Okay.